And this is Carnival Visionaries, brought to you with a kind compliments of Playmas app. So we are here with another Carnival Visionary. This is Rawle Permanand. Rawle is one of the experts when it comes to carnival design. You designed for Humor this year?
Correct, yes.
So Rawle, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. So let's start off a bit in terms of you being a carnival costume designer. How did this journey start for you?
12 years ago. At that time, when it is these costumes all come in from overseas being produced, and I don't know if you remember back in the day when you go to collect your costume, most times, well, first of all, we've come a long way with quality, I should say. But back in the day, as you pick your piece out your box, it drips back into the box, literally paper off a wall. And no experience, no design, future plans, nothing like that. I was the one helping friends put their costumes back together. When boots was a thing, because everybody now is in sneakers, the whole boots phenomena, I decorated and custom boots to match your costume. And Humor scouted me that year. They were like, hey, you're doing something good here, submit something to us. And that's where it started.
All right. So where you would say you get your inspiration from for your designs?
That's a good question, because inspiration is everywhere. Like inspiration everywhere. Like right now you're wearing gray. Gray and black looks good. So how about a gray and black costume for next year? I remember in the New York subway, recently I did a costume about 3 years ago, black, orange, and pink, and that inspiration I got from a guy's sneakers in the subway. It's everywhere. I love going to the Indian expos, because the Indian culture is very big on color, and again I get my inspiration for color combos from there as well. Just walking around, minding everybody else's business, pulling everybody else's business. I pull color from there, and it comes in different ways for different people. Some designers may be inspired by a necklace, jewelry. Some may be inspired by structure, texture. For me, it's color, and that is what inspires me to go into a project.
All right. So walk us through your process. I know Humor would come up with their theme for the entire band or for the season.
Season, yeah.
Right. How do you go about from idea to prototype?
So the theme comes off. They let us know what direction they want to go. We don't really have an exact title yet, but a direction. And being one of the long-standing designers in Humor, I'm privileged to get what we would probably refer to as first dibs. So, and I do most of my headpieces and wire bras first. That is usually the first step for me. So based on what I choose, I would custom my wire bra. I would literally draw my wire bra on my mannequin and send my mannequin to the producer to make this bra for me. And Humor's theme this year, it's been out. It's in a few words, it's like a tribute to Trinidad and Tobago, like things you would find within our culture and our country. It embodies color combos I've never done for Trinidad before. So it's something fresh for me compared to something I would have done last year or be inspired by last year, and it becomes redundant. So there was a few mixed feelings early on with the color combo, because color is really, I believe, what really the first thing someone sees when they see a costume on stage before they actually zoom into details, So color for me is very big, like I mentioned earlier. So chose my color combo, got my wire bra done, got my headpiece done, and then I go into the other pieces of the bodies.
So with you now, is it that you have an overall idea of what the costume is going to look like? As you said, you're doing the bra, you're doing these different specific elements. But in my mind, I'm thinking, well, you had to have a kind of overall vision first before you dive into the bra.
One of my costumes this year, I'm very, it's very close to heart. Based on Humor's inspiration and Humor's theme, I'm doing a costume based on, the Boca Reef and Tobago. So my wire bra is literally shaped like a fishbone. And my headpiece is literally like a fan coral that is just fully embellished with gems dripping off the headpiece, So it has the elements. When you see it, you know it's an underwater situation. You know, so it's one of, and it's shades of blue, and I've never really done shades of blue for Trinidad before. Right. So it's one of those that is close to my
heart.
Because
when you said things inspired by Trinidad and Tobago, I think I hope the whole band ain't going to be red. Please. So no. It's the different.
I think
elements.
It's a good mix. You know, the design team along with you know the cast of the that makes up the humor committee. Good is coming, you know. I like, you know, so many things we don't really see. There's only certain things that are portrayed most times, you know. Right. And I'm happy that we're able to go a bit in depth to pull some of these aspects of and bring it into a costume.
Right. So let me dive into a bit of the drama that takes place behind the scenes of Carnival, right? Because I am in the Carnival industry on the music side, yes. As we would have mentioned before. You are in the design space. Something that I wonder if everyone out there knows, and I want to ask you this: do you think that the Carnival band designers are cliquish?
He chose me to ask this question too, right? You know, and it's a good question, because this is a conversation, you know, we never really get to outside of what happens, you know, outside of the behind the scenes. Cliquish is a good word, you know. I don't belong to any clique. I'm a one-man show. Anybody will tell you that. I knew of cliques in the past, but I don't think it exists anymore, because everybody is after their own food now, as we say. You know, so I don't believe like they're cliques per se, but of course designers who belong to the same band, they may work together for that band's common interest. Right.
Yeah. But do you feel it's difficult for, let's say, a newbie designer, someone who is great at fashion, right, great at design, getting into the Carnival costume design space?
Being new, like, you really have to go into this industry, as you would agree, with the thickest skin possible. I will admit it, my skin is nowhere close to thick. So my challenges go skin deep, where it is I struggle just being in the same space with other creatives. Whereas others may be influenced by, I struggle just because you're easy to be judged, you're easy to be critiqued without even someone knowing your BTS story, you know? So it's being a new person coming in this industry. Like, I've spoken to multiple persons who just craving that opportunity and just don't have that right opportunity. And because one thing about me is I answer all my DMs. And there are persons who have mentioned to me before, Rawle, thank you so much for answering, because they have reached out to other persons in the industry and no feedback. And they just want to speak to one person to find out what is my first moves. Because you know, if you don't have a brand or a name, you're not paid attention to. You know, so I tell them, go for it. Make sure what you are putting forth is something that represents you. Because we live in a lifestyle now where everything is copy and paste. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the screenshots being sent to seamstresses. I want a panty like this. I want a backpack like this. I tell them, come with something that represents you, that is going to set you apart from what everybody else is bringing. And you have to be open to critique. You have to be open to being, as a new designer, you are under the hot pot, as we say. And you have to be able to acknowledge, hey, I'm new into this, but I'm open to learning and developing and growing. Because it's not going to happen overnight.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned being able to accept critique. Now, social media could be a harsh place. Have you ever gone through an incident where you put up a costume and it's out there? You might have a big band launch,
right,
and everybody watching the different
right,
costumes, because you know, band launch time, all the pictures come out and
right,
you see it on social media and whatever.
Yeah.
And then people start to attack one of your costumes and critique it. One, have you ever gone through that? And two, has critique online affected you personally in terms of being a designer?
Now, I remember as a child growing up, my godfather once told me, it takes years to build a good name, but 10 seconds to get it destroyed totally. I've been fortunate, Rome, to not be in that situation where my costumes were critiqued in a negative light. I'm not saying it may not happen, because every costume is not for everybody. Just as every song may not be for everybody, right? I have learned to accept not everybody is going to like what you put forth. I've also learned to accept that there are many that like what I put forth and would choose my design, you know. So thankfully I haven't been in that fire. I don't plan on getting in that fire anytime soon. I've been blessed to have my designs well received wherever I have, graced my presence with my work, and I'm hoping it's only uphill from there.
Right.
Yeah, well, it has been only uphill. We're not going back down we're not going down any hill.
So what challenges you would say you face as a designer?
Now, as much as we love to support local, like for example, for 2025, I purchased all my fabric locally. You know, I support one of the local retail stores. Just basically, I loved what I saw, you know, and most of the challenges we face is not getting new items coming into Trinidad for us to use. So I saw 2 fabric options. I was gravitated towards it. That was the easy process for me. You know, the major challenge we have, and this is something that my 12 years being in the industry, I don't think has ever changed, is when we have to bring in these feathers. This is a topic that I don't think would ever get sorted, but we go through a lot to bring in these feathers. And you know, being the home of Carnival as we are described, you know, I would like to think things should be a bit easier for us to have access to these. Well, don't get me wrong, the access is there, but bringing it in, because it requires permit, it requires a vet, it requires license, it requires a lot of running around.
Let me get into this, because most people at home who are masqueraders,
they don't know.
You get your costume, you get your big backpack with all of these feathers. We don't know where they come from.
Right.
We don't know what is the process to get them here. One, are the feathers real or are they not real? Are they spray painted? What is, give us the because I know that you are a featherer as well. You can create your own backpack.
Yes.
So walk us through that process of one, getting the feathers here and then putting them onto the costume.
Well, before you see a costume on stage, a lot goes into it. A lot goes into, sometimes feathers arrive in our hands the day before a photo shoot, or like for example, right now I'm working on a shoot on Thursday, and I'm hoping to get feathers at least by tomorrow. Right. So I can.
Today's Monday, by the way. They give you a sense of time. Right.
But it would come together. But so we order feathers, whether it be from our supplier via New York or Miami, and I believe they source it from, whether it be Africa, India, China. They will have their source. But before it gets to our hands, guys, it's a lot. It's a lot. So we have to get import permit that the vendor will have to send to us. Sometimes costs over $100 for that. And mind, this is per shipment. This is per box, right? When we get the import permit, that has to go to the Ministry of Agriculture, I believe, here. And they have to bring us, the export permit is what they send us. We then have to apply for import permit with that document. That takes a few days. You know, our culture here is a bit relaxed, so nothing is within 24 hours, you know? So we then have to wait a couple days to be issued that permit to bring in feathers. And in most times, customs require a vet to go to the airport with the permit to inspect these boxes of feathers to ensure that, you know, it's disease-free and it's whatever they're looking for. And with hope that they release the box on that day. And of course, duties and taxes on top of that. So it's a process that could probably take over a week just to even get a box of feathers sometimes. So this is why, no fault of producers, no fault of bands, sometimes things are a bit delayed because of these protocols that we do have to follow, you know. And I understand why it's in place, but I wish it would be made a bit easier for us, knowing that we are the home of Carnival and we, you know, showcasing what we're supposed to, yeah.
Right, so then you have all of your feathers, and with your backpacks, because I know that you have some very elaborate backpacks, do you do your own wire bending?
I do not. I do have reliable providers, thank goodness, who's been on my team since my career started. So by now they understand my style, they understand the heights that I like, they understand my structure, and they understand how stable I like my pieces. because I don't want to be known as that designer with backpacks breaking and bending on stage, you know. So it's a lot that goes into it, but my relationship with my providers, they got me, and that's
so
amazing.
is it a generic backpack design that everyone uses, and then you recreate the template at the front? How does that work?
Well, if you observe the masquerader within the last few years, it's how I say it. I keep my backpack shapes very simple, just because I know what sells in the industry right now. And these things are pretty expensive. So it's like you want to keep it simple but very colorful and effective, right? The cost of feathers are increasing by the day. There's only so much birds you can really pluck every day. Whether they're real or not, feathers that is. So so backpack shapes for me, I keep my backpacks very simple, but I put my focus in the coloring and the embellishments of it. Just because our streets here are really not that big, really, if you look at it, and then you have 50 backpacks all up under you. It's difficult when person's paying $1,000 US sometimes a backpack, and you can't even parade properly in it, So I tend to sometimes go with height over width, just so you can showcase, what you purchase for properly, yeah.
So we touched a bit on you getting your inspiration, right? Is it that you have to, as you mentioned, going to New York and seeing a sneaker and you see any patterns? Is it that you're inspired by seeing the various types of materials from around the world? Or is it by you going somewhere and you're just getting a vision, like how you said, the Boca Reef? Is it that you have to go to the Boca Reef to do it? Or is it that you watch something on television? What is your take on terms of a worldview giving inspiration for your designs?
We have access to the internet now, Sometimes time may not be available for us to jump on a plane, because travel is no longer a luxury. Travel now is a hassle. I see it, right? If ever I'm afforded the opportunity to travel further away, where I can literally be amongst art and rich culture, whether it be I go to the depths of Africa to a safari, or whether I go back to the homeland in India, those things I'm not opposed to, I do have plans on traveling to these destinations to get a more grasp of culture per se, where I can probably get better textures and better fabrics from the origins. But then, of course, we also need to keep in mind, when we do have to produce these things for Carnival, we have to make sure they're easily accessible. Accessible is one thing, but we need to make sure they can also be affordable.
Now, why I ask that too is because a lot of people have been saying that Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival is losing the essence of the culture and the creativity, and that a lot of the costume designers just giving us a bikini and bead. Is it that the masqueraders just really want that? Or is it that you think, one, do you agree with that statement, that we're losing part of our culture and the creativity? And two, is it that if we are losing that, is it because of the masquerader wanting bikini and beads, or is it that the designers decided to go this direction?
This is a regular topic of conversation on a daily basis, right? So it's this question comes up all the time. But I think, for Trinidad Carnival in particular, I think we really have grown to a point where we do have other bands that offer different fits and different looks. Yes, the bikini and beads would always sell because it's always the go-to, or it's I would say always the go-to, but it caters to a larger percentage, and you do have bands that cater to more of the art and fabric portrayal, and that I love. Like, I love seeing collectively fabric backpacks and fabric skirts and fabric capes and stuff like that. So bikini and beads will always sell. And with the introduction of more conservative and more art, contemporary sort of designs, those seems to be doing pretty well as, also. So I believe bikini and beads and the art aspect of it, is very much alive and it's supported.
Have you ever gone through a brain drain where I have a creative block? I can't really come up with a concept. I can't get this thing done. I think I need to take some time off.
The pressures of putting out something, you just don't know how it would be received. The pressures of choosing a particular color, like I mentioned earlier, I'm big on color, but you don't know if somebody played in red last year, would they want to play in red again this year? And you know, the carnival, especially, you know, our female masqueraders, they move in groups. So sometimes you want to put forth a design where, you know, they would choose collectively and be happy about, you know. So the whole brain drain and the freeze and the design block, as we call it, it's normal, it happens. And I'm very hard on myself. So sometimes I don't know how to adjust to that. Do I fight it and just continue going at it? Do I shut it down and go back at it the next day or 2 days after? So what I do, my stuff stays on my mannequin. I work from, my studio is in my garage, but you see my garage from my bedroom window. I turn my mannequin to my bedroom window with what I have on. And sometimes if an idea comes to mind, because you know, as creatives, you would know, our mind is constantly going, constantly.
Yep.
Lose sleep over a lyric or a gem or a feather, right? So I would sometimes just pull my drapes and look at the costume, sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just to figure out, yeah, I could really see this working. So then when you start work the next day, you go back with a fresh eye, and it continues, you know. Sometimes my mannequin remains untouched for like over a week. And this is the process that not everyone understands, you know, like we mentioned earlier, before it reaches stage and photo shoot, what really happens. So brain drain is normal, designers blocks, that is normal. That is like, for me, that happens all the time.
All right, so I know that you and I spoke off camera in terms of you were considering to actually take a year off. And what was the reasoning you would say behind that? Was it the pressures of the industry itself? Was it personal reasoning? Why would you think like, I think I just need to give this thing a rest?
A lot happens outside of the carnival world, you know, and I do believe that you know, persons do forget sometimes that, you know, we do have a private life outside of this carnival industry. Though they may see us on social media more involved in the industry, we do have, you know, our personal life as well. You know, my mental health has been in jeopardy, you know, and it's something that I've been struggling with for the past, I would say, you know, it's been a minute.
Right.
Within the last few months, it has gotten worse. And you know, we as individuals, we have to know when it's time for us to take certain steps. On a personal side of it, you know, I am the primary caregiver to my dad. So that right now, you know, is taking precedence over my, you know, my career. You know, I've worked hard to build a name, and I know for sure whenever I do return, if it was within 6 months, within a year, you know, I would have the support of my followers and my band leaders there. It was a struggle finding a balance. Do I really take a year off because of that? But what's going to happen when I see costumes launching for Carnival? Where would my mindset be? That may send me in an even deeper space, you know? So I was like, you know what? This is what really makes you happy, despite all the drama, it makes you happy. You know, I literally decided I'm going to push this year, because the plan was to take a year off. You know, we do need that time to detox. We do need that time just to get a different perspective of what's more important in life, you know, compared to what we may assume or what everybody else may assume is more important.
No, well, I like that you said that, because a lot of people struggle with mental health issues in terms of it's not something people openly want to talk about,
right?
Because they think they're alone in it. So I'm happy that you opened up about it, because there are a lot of people who are looking at this right now who are going through issues who struggling with their mental health, who are going through depression, and they think they are alone. So I'm happy that you could let them know that they're not alone, and especially for those of us in the carnival space. Carnival is something that is happy, joyful. Soca music is joyful. We don't really sing about sad stuff that much in soca music, and whenever you see someone in a picture for Carnival or a video for Carnival, there's a big smile on their
Correct.
face and they're euphoric. So people assume that those of us in the Carnival space, in the industry, are always these happy-go-lucky
correct.
people. Because when they watch a Rawle costume,
Yeah.
it is vibrant, it's
Yeah.
filled with color, it's exuberant,
Yes.
and they think that the person behind that is a forever happy person,
Right.
not knowing that you have moments like
Of
a
course.
human being that
Of
you would go
course.
through that, and it would affect your life on the whole, and it may affect your work. So I want to just touch on that a bit in terms of, do you think that sometimes if you're going through a bout of mental health struggles, does it affect your work itself?
Now, I would probably take us back a bit during the pandemic, right? When nothing was happening in our career, in our line of work.
Yeah.
Everybody is saying, you have to find something to do to occupy your time, hobbies, etc. But for me, my job was just not a job, it was also my hobby. So not being able to design, not being able to do anything within the realm of this Carnival business, it was depressing. Because what else do I do? Do I just stay home and eat all day? Probably like most of us probably did anyhow. But it took a toll on us, and especially as creatives, we are emotional people. I don't care what anybody say, I don't care who says they are the strongest in the industry, we are emotional heads, It's a struggle to not take things to heart, but it's also an understanding that we can't always take things to heart just because we are in the public eye and we are open to all positives, all negative, So when it comes to the whole mental health aspect, when it comes to the depression aspect, I don't really speak of it as much because everybody knows Rawle to be party person of the friend circle, the one who's always planning everything, who's always pouring into everybody else. So my challenge, Rome, is how do I accept when someone wants to pour into me? And it comes with genuine people just wanting to pour genuinely. But sometimes as males as well, we don't always like to admit there's a problem, right? Or we also don't like to receive help knowing that we need it, because we have this alpha male personality where, oh no, I good, a beer will kill that, or a drink of scotch will kill that, But the reality of it is many people are, and even sometimes on, because my social media it's personal and business mix. I don't have a separate page, right? Because I've realized people love to see the real Rawle outside of this. So sometimes I will just do a random post, like yesterday was Father's Day, and I did a post just saying, sending out big hugs to everyone who don't have their father around. That opened conversation by persons who was just waiting for someone to reach out. And these are persons who just follow, we're not really friends on Instagram, but it allowed me to have a beautiful conversation or conversations on the situation, because there are persons there who are silently suffering. I am a silent sufferer, and I will say it because I don't speak that much, right? But that is just my way of dealing with it till I'm, good enough to probably open up a bit more.
So Rawle, I know that you've been very open with us in terms of discussing this whole mental health topic that is usually a sensitive topic, especially for creatives.
Right.
We always have on a mask all the time. When we in social media, nobody really wants to see us sad.
Right.
So we have this mask on.
Because again, there are people that depend on us for a good day, or look out for a song from you to make them dance in the office a day, So yeah, we have to.
So when you go into a sad space or into a depressive space, are you able to design your way out of it, or is it where for you in dealing with it, you need to take that time, compartmentalize, and then when you come out of it, then you start back designing?
Right, yeah, that's a good question as well, because everyone deals with things differently, right? And some people expect us to deal with things the way they may deal with things sometimes. For me, when I design, I put a lot of emotions into my pieces. I have made costumes before, especially when I lost my mom 7 years ago. I remember the recovery process for that. I mean, it still is a challenge, but I remember making costumes and I'm literally in tears, just because she used to be that person sitting there with me while I created, you know. So it's a lot of emotion going to pieces, you know, whereas some other creatives might be like, you know what, that's that, I can move, I can turn the page easy, where some of us may need to dwell a bit, and dwelling is not a bad thing. Sometimes we need to process the way we deal with things and ensure to ourselves that it's okay that things may take a bit longer than the person beside us. And that's okay, you know. I may take a day or two, I may take a week sometimes, because at the end of the day, you know, we have to be in a mindset that what we deem appropriate for us to jump back into what we have to do. You know, because yes, you want to put your emotions into pieces, because I believe that is sometimes when your best work comes out, compared to when it is you are, yes, when you're fully energized and you're in a good headspace, yes, you produce good work as well. But I also think for that individual who is struggling, who has these mental issues and who is going through stuff, they also put whatever they are putting out at that particular time, they're telling themselves, these are all my emotions going into my work. Right. So on the flip side, you know, you're seeing how it ties in, whereas that person is producing what they believe is their good work, as well as the person who's on a positive side, they are producing over theirs on their good work as well. You know, it's just a matter of knowing when you have to take that chill pill, when you have to take that break, and when it is you have to resume. And we work with deadlines. The deadlines sometimes are unrealistic. Unrealistic, you know. So sometimes you just have to suck it up and
shake it off and just do it.
Because band launch season is here.
Right, and band launch season ain't care.
Carnival date is not changing.
Exactly.
There's a fight for band launch date spots. Nobody is changing their dates.
Yeah.
Photo shoots are happening. Photographers need time to edit. Deadlines are not changing. So we have to suck it up at the end of the day, do what we have to do, whether we're in a good headspace, bad headspace, but just put forth. It's our work at the end of the day, you know?
Good. So I'm going to hit you some rapid fire questions. You have to give me the answer that's at the top of your head.
Right.
No time to think.
All right.
First one is a triple threat. Boots, heels, or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Savannah stage or Sukkadrome?
Savannah stage. Something about the Savannah stage, I think, you know, and you know, Cass with that song kind of have it for me whenever I hear about Savannah stage, you know. Right. So Sukkadrome has its you know, it's less, you know, whatever purpose it was designed for. Yes, we use it every year, but there's something about the Savannah stage. When I describe that to first-time Carnival persons, it's something that they are more enthusiastic of.
For the male, chest piece or no chest piece?
Well, I mean, I love doing male costumes, right? So if it's not overdone, it's not a Rawle costume. So for me, I would say chest piece. I mean, if it is, you know, you don't want to wear your chest piece, you know, kudos.
Because I know a lot of the guys now,
yeah,
they just have a board short.
Correct. But again, you know, at least you have that breakdown or degree of different costumes for different persons. If you know you want to just do shorts, bareback with a headband, you can get that. If you are that male that I'm not paying $5,000 to wear shorts, I want a full costume, you get that too. Yeah.
Outside of Trinidad and Tobago, your number one carnival?
You see, I've designed for many carnivals outside, but I've never participated. So it's a good question, but in terms of where I've participated, I would say St. Lucia. Yeah, it's different. I love how they mix their January with our soca. The road vibe is different. Yeah.
And finally, Patrice or Destra?
Patrice.
All right. Rawle, thank you very much for being a part.
Thank you for having me.
This has been Carnival Visionaries. It's Rome and Rawle. Thank you very much to the Playmas.